There's been a lot of fears because there wasn't a lot of official information. Even now, we're still not quite sure it happened, just like rumors.
First Tonight at 5 Live reports with the very latest on the tragic events that unfolded yesterday on the UW-Platteville campus.
5 days after severe weather tore through Dodge County, we'll get an update on the cleanup and the story of heroic efforts at a retirement center.
And we'll hear how Fitchburg is striving for safer roads with a vision of zero traffic deaths in the city.
We welcome you to News 3 Now at 5.
And we start off with an update on today's Alert Day. Meteorologist Jacob Madison joins us now with your first warn forecast.
Yeah, we continue to see plenty of rain out there, although parts of the area not seeing rain at the moment. But we're going to continue to see the chance of rain for about another 24 hours or so. So taking a look at the radar, again, not covering the entire region, but there are some pockets of heavy rain, especially just to the south and southwest of Dane County. We could see some heavier rain pushing off to the north, even bringing in a few lightning strikes with it. Looks like it's moving just about due north and may impact the western portion of Dane County. But in general, like I mentioned, we're going to continue to see this rain for about the next 24 hours. We'll continue to see scattered showers overnight, although each individual location may not see rain at a nonstop pace like we saw this morning. We are going to be seeing at least some rain for parts of the area throughout the night and into Wednesday. It looks like the most likely chance of rain tonight will be for areas north of Madison. Now, we also have been windy and cool today. Wind speed still around 10 to 20 miles per hour, but the winds are going to get better throughout the night. Still a bit breezy early in the night, but then by Wednesday morning, it will be calmer. And I'll continue tracking your Wednesday forecast and show you your Memorial Day forecast coming up in just a little bit.
All right, Jacob, thank you. We are learning more about a story we brought you yesterday as breaking news. UW-Platteville's chancellor has now confirmed 2 students have died in an incident yesterday at Wilgus Hall on campus. Officials offered very few details at that press conference last night as to what exactly happened there. Here is what we do know. It was about 4 o'clock yesterday in the afternoon. A 911 call was placed regarding some type of incident at Wilgus Hall. Alerts were sent to students to shelter in place and avoid campus if at all possible. Then by 5, that shelter in place was lifted and police called it a targeted and isolated incident. Then at 7, universities and the officials and police held that press conference saying the investigation was active, but really did not offer any other details of what that incident was all about. They did confirm there was a medical transport. Then at 11:09 last night, officials reported the deaths of students Kelsey Martin and also Hallie Helms.
The 22-year-old students had just participated in commencement 2 days prior. The university is now offering triage counseling for those affected by the incident Monday through Friday from 8 to 4. But Mantra's Care Hub is offering help at any time. And finals at UW-Platteville have been canceled for both the Platteville and Baraboo campuses. It's about 24 hours after the campus had gone on brief lockdown, and our Armand Rahman is in Platteville tonight with more on how the students there are feeling today. Armand?
Well, many of them are telling me, those students, that they are still in complete shock or that this could happen on such a small, close-knit campus community. And they're also shocked with how little the university is telling them about what happened. I spoke with 2 students who went to high school with one of the women who died in the incident from Beloit, 22-year-old Kelsey Martin. And they say the lack of information from the press conference yesterday onwards just allowed fear and rumors to swirl when no one really knows what went on between the 2 women.
A lot of the things we heard were just rumors that were going around, and I think that that's kind of hurtful. I think that if they would have said a few things, tried to keep the information truthful, it would have kind of quelled that a little bit.
The other student who died in the isolated incident, Hallie Helms of Baraboo, she had just graduated magna cum laude with a degree in early education, and according to a website she made and linked to her social media, she transferred to UW-Platteville in the spring of 2023, and we are still waiting on a joint statement from campus police and the State Department of Criminal Investigation, which will hopefully provide some preliminary details in their investigation. Be sure to stay tuned to News 3 Now and Channel3000.com when those developments come in. We're now reporting live at UW-Platteville. Armand Rahman, News 3 Now.
Armand, thank you. And of course, police continue their investigation in this case.
UW-Platteville Police Chief Joe Hallman emphasizes the importance of accuracy and privacy in the investigation process. No criminal charges will be filed against Dane County Sheriff's deputies in connection with the February 2024 jail death of inmate Lisa Harding. Officials say Harding, arrested after a bank robbery investigation, died from accidental mixed drug intoxication less than 24 hours after she was booked. Surveillance video confirmed deputies conducted regular checks. An outside investigation by Madison police complied with state law and found no wrongdoing by jail staff. Last week, the city of Fitchburg passed a resolution adopting Vision Zero.
That's right. Vision Zero is a traffic safety plan already adopted by multiple cities in the area that aims to reach zero traffic deaths or serious injuries. News 3 Now's Jalen Banks caught up with the city of Fitchburg and has more.
Tuesday, May 13th, the city of Fitchburg passed a resolution adopting Vision Zero, a concept that aims to eliminate all traffic deaths and serious injuries on city streets. Now the city will move forward and develop a safety action plan detailing intersections, streets, and paths they deem dangerous and fixable.
Street overhauls usually involve some sort of safety improvements already. Vision Zero will obviously guide those going forward.
And Kaler says part of the motivation to adopt Vision Zero is due in part to its impact on a neighboring city.
I think the success of Madison with some of their metrics, like you said, helps us to know that this is like a good path forward and is actually achievable.
The city of Madison first launched Vision Zero in July of 2020. In a city crash data report in 2020, the city saw nearly 1,200 injuries and had 50 less in 2022. And in 2020, the number of fatalities and serious injuries were 126. And in 2022, that had dropped down to 90. However, the city did see 160 more crashes in 2022 than it did in 2020.
Being endorsed by our council will add some force behind like getting funding for those infrastructure improvements, because that's always the barrier, is the cost of actually installing these things.
For now, reporting in Fitchburg, Jalen Banks, News 3 Now.
Jalen, thank you. The safety action plan is scheduled to be completed at the end of next year.
At least 10 tornadoes touched down in Wisconsin last Thursday alone. 2 of those hit the community of Juneau.
Our Merrill Hubbard brings us there to see how one retirement community is recovering from the storm's damage.
The north end of Juneau took a big hit from last week's tornadoes, and here at Clearview Retirement Center, the recovery effort is ongoing. You can see there's still debris that needs to be picked up, and I'm told that over 50 windows in the facility need repairs.
This looked like a war zone just a couple days ago.
On Thursday, this facility, home to about 160 seniors, was shaken by a powerful tornado.
It was a really horrific night.
Ed Summers is the executive director of the Clearview campus. He says that during the tornado, one of their caregivers rescued 3 residents from their group home moments before disaster.
She got down to the basement just as the roof was being torn off of the facility. I mean, she literally saved lives.
Summers says his team worked quickly to bring their residents to safety, avoiding injury and death.
The staff stepped up. They're all calm and cool, and they did exactly what we needed them to do, and the residents are safe, and that's the main thing.
Along with relocating multiple residents, the recovery for Clearview means replacing the group home's roof, dozens of windows, the garage, and multiple employees' cars.
Right after the storm was done, members of the community are coming over here checking in on us all the next day.
While the tornadoes have shaken up the lives of many, Summers says the community in Juneau is strong.
We all continue to pull together. We'll come out of this on the other side better for it.
Reporting in Juneau, Merrill Hubbard, News 3 Now.
Next at 5, Beloit Assistant Chief Thomas Stigler has been named interim police chief following the upcoming departure of Chief Andre Sales. Stigler's a veteran of the Milwaukee Police Department and will officially assume duties June 7th. He previously served as interim chief in 2020 and says he is committed to continuing strong community-driven policing. The Beloit Police and Fire Commission will soon begin its search for a permanent chief.
The search for a missing boater on Lake Monona has been suspended because of the weather today. The incident happened Friday night when a sailboat tied to a kayak capsized. One person drifted to shore and 2 others were rescued, but a 4th, who was not wearing a life jacket, remains missing. The Dane County Sheriff's Office says the recovery effort will resume later this week, weather permitting.
Nearly 1,000 nurses at Unity Point Health Meriter in Madison will begin a strike next Tuesday after contract talks have broken down. Represented by SEIU Wisconsin, nurses are demanding better staffing, safety, and pay. The union says management isn't listening to frontline concerns. The strike is expected to last through June 1st. Hospital leaders say they respect the nurses' right to strike and are preparing accordingly.
The Wisconsin DNR is urging visitors to plan ahead for Memorial Day weekend at our state parks, forests, and trails. With over 20 million annual visitors, parks can get very crowded, so buying vehicle passes online and reserving campsites in advance is key. Most areas are open from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. The DNR also reminds visitors, pick up your trash, be tick aware, and explore lesser-known spots using their online tools.
It's out with the old and with the new at Google. Today, the search giant laid out its vision for the future of searching the web. This comes as Google works to compete with chatbots like ChatGPT and other search engines fueled by artificial intelligence. The company said the search engine will no longer just process keywords. They're adding so-called digital agents that can crawl the web and answer questions based on a person's real-world surroundings, tastes, and preferences. Google did not say when those updates would be taking effect. Jacob returns next. More on Alert Day rain totals on this gray, gloomy Tuesday.
And there's talk of legislation to give filmmakers more incentives to bring their work to the Badger State.
Red numbers across the board on Wall Street today. The Dow falling almost 115 points. The Nasdaq loses almost 73. S&P 500 down 23 at the closing bell, and we'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
Well, when you think of film and television production, you probably think of places like California or New York. Now there's a push for Wisconsin to get on that list.
Our Ellie LaLiberte shows us a Senate bill that could help incentivize that production right here in the Badger State.
Wisconsin is just one of 13 states that don't offer a tax incentive for film and TV production, which is why industry leaders say they're ready for a change.
It could be huge.
Huge. That's what Nancy Clark Mather, the owner of Beloit Filmworks, a film location company, thinks about this legislation.
This is money that's going to go back into Wisconsin.
The bill would create a state film office and an annual $10 million tax incentive for productions that film in Wisconsin, something Nancy says is long overdue for the Badger State.
Now's the time.
We've been talking to our local representatives.
Greg Gerard is the executive director of the Beloit International Film Festival. He says the incentive has created excitement in the industry.
The whole thing is just a big, positive, feel-good kind of ball of energy that the film festival will certainly benefit from and profit from.
Right now, production companies may look to neighboring states like Illinois or Minnesota, who do have an incentive program, but Nancy's pitch:
we don't have the obstacles that you would encounter going into Chicago. We don't have the traffic, we don't have the permit requirements, we don't have the hassle of all the pedestrians. It's much easier to work in Beloit.
A similar bill failed last legislative session, but Nancy isn't too worried.
But I don't think people are going to quit based on the momentum that we've gained at this point.
In fact, she's ready for the lights, camera, and action.
I'm getting prepared. I'm getting ready.
Reporting in Beloit, Ellie LaLiberte, News 3 Now.
And Ellie, thank you. This morning, the Senate Committee on Utilities and Tourism held a public listening session for this bill. Before it can become law, of course, it'll need approval from both chambers of the legislature plus the governor's signature.
Alert day conditions continue across the state. The rain continues to fall. Jacob, how much longer?
Well, we're going to see rain through Wednesday, and that's one of the 3 things you need to know. Really, all day we could see a chance of rain, but we will dry up and we'll have highs in the 60s for Memorial Day. So pretty good, despite the fact that they will be below normal. Temperatures will be. And then we have a small chance of rain for Sunday and Monday of Memorial Day weekend, but still a bit unclear as to just how much, although it looks pretty likely that we'll see less than what what we've seen today. Now, on top of the rainfall, we have seen some very cool temperatures. Right now, we're seeing temperatures in the 40s, and this is normally when we see the high temperature of the day. And speaking of the highs for today, a lot of the area hasn't even gotten to 50, and if you have, you've barely gotten there. And these high temperatures today are pretty close to the average lows that we see for this time of the year. So very unseasonably cool, and we're still seeing that rain. Now, I continue to talk about this rain, this heavier rain that continues to push into Wisconsin, bring in a few lightning strikes. So there are a few isolated thunderstorms possible, but we're still not expecting any severe weather. Now, as we take a look at the rainfall forecast, we're going to continue to see some scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms throughout the night. Although it won't be quite as consistent as it was this morning, we still are likely going to see rain for at least parts of the area at any given time tonight into tomorrow, although some areas will definitely see breaks from the rain. Best chance of rain going forward, at least late tonight into early Wednesday, will be for areas north of Madison. And as we get into the afternoon and evening Wednesday, the rain will be a little bit more broken up, but still could see some light showers and sprinkles. And that's going to continue for Wednesday night as well. But once we get closer to sunrise Thursday, that's when it looks like the rain will clear out of the area, and then we are going to be dry for the rest of the week. But we still could see about another ½ inch to full inch of rain for some areas, especially places north of Madison that will see a little bit more consistent rain. Madison surrounding areas, especially places to the south, may only see about ¼ inch to ½ inch, but still we are going to continue to see that rain for at least another 24 hours, at least for parts of the area. Now, as we take a look at the rain after this clears out, we're not going to be seeing much for the rest of the week. In fact, we're almost certainly going to be dry for later in the day, Thursday through Saturday. We do have that small increase in rain chances for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week. But again, it doesn't look like we're going to see as much as we've seen today. Now, taking a look at the temperatures, they are going to warm up into the 60s, so it certainly will be better than today. But notice the average high is supposed to be in the lower 70s, and we'll eventually get back to that level for the middle and end of next week. But at least for Memorial Day weekend, just slightly below normal. But considering that we are expecting sunshine, especially Saturday, and we probably won't see a lot of wind, it should be a pretty good weekend, all things considered. We do have to keep an eye on that rain chance, though, for Sunday and Monday. So remaining below normal for the rest of the week, but we are going to be dry after Wednesday. However, we're still going to see the chance of rain throughout much of the day. Also want to point out that we could see some frost Thursday night as lows could drop into the upper 30s. So that might be a concern for Thursday night. But once we get to the middle of next week, we'll have temperatures much closer to normal. Highs are supposed to be in the 70s, possibly into the lower 80s by the time we get to the end of next week.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Just ahead at 5, how President Trump made his way to Capitol Hill today to drum up support for his so-called big, beautiful bill. We'll have that story after a short break.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
President Donald Trump on Capitol Hill today to make a pitch with his so-called big, beautiful bill on the line.
What's in, what's out, and what's at stake for American households? Karen Kaifa has the latest from Washington.
President Trump's second-term domestic priorities are rolled up in what he calls a big, beautiful bill.
I think we're going to get everything we want, and I think we're going to have a great victory.
But making a push on Capitol Hill Tuesday, Trump encountered a divided House GOP caucus. Republicans from key swing districts warning changes to health coverage and food assistance programs could leave them politically vulnerable. Some blue state Republicans holding out for a bigger federal deduction for state taxes, and fiscal conservatives argue the bill doesn't do enough for the federal deficit.
The problem is it's being touted as a bill that corrects deficit spending, and it doesn't do that. It doesn't actually manage the deficit well.
The bill seeks to make permanent nearly all of the individual income tax breaks signed into law by Trump during his first term in 2017. It would also temporarily eliminate federal taxes on tips and on overtime pay and boost the child tax credit through 2028. To offset tax cuts, the bill proposes a Medicaid overhaul that seeks to cut spending with new rules like work requirements for adults physically capable of working and more frequent eligibility checks for those using the program. The bill also calls for more food stamp recipients to work to qualify for benefits and shifts some of the program's costs to states starting in 2028. House Speaker Mike Johnson expressing confidence Republicans can resolve their differences.
We are right on track to deliver, and that's what you'll see this House do this week.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kaifa.
The House is expected to take up the bill for debate later this week, with potential amendments still on the table. If passed, the legislation would mark one of the most significant shifts in federal tax and benefit policy since 2017.
We continue to track alert day conditions. A final check of the forecast after a quick break.
The days of paying less to lose more could end soon. Why those weight loss drugs known as GLP-1s are likely to cost you more.
And our Eye on America looks at how a catastrophe shaped the life of a college student and made her determined to protect others from the dangers of tornadoes. That's tonight on the CBS Evening News.
And coming up at the top of the hour, we continue to learn more about just what happened in Platteville yesterday afternoon on the UW-Platteville campus. Our Arman Rahman has the latest details. Again, that's next hour. News 3 Now at 6.
Finally at 5, we all make a wrong turn every once in a while, but one driver in Chicago made one worse than most. Last weekend, a 36-year-old DoorDash driver mistakenly drove past a gate and headed into a restricted area at O'Hare Airport. He ended up parked next to a grounded plane on the tarmac. Chicago aviation officials say Saturday's incident didn't cause any disruptions, luckily, to operations, and police did do a security sweep afterward.
Not supposed to be here, buddy.
I feel like
created some issues.
I feel like that's more on the airport for just allowing
Making
access.
it available, right?
Like the fact that he just accidentally did that. I don't know.
Raises some questions.
Right?
A mess out there today. Really nasty weather.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the rain is going to continue for much of the night and tomorrow, although tomorrow it won't be as windy, although it still will be very cool. Now, after tomorrow, things start to get better. 60s will be in the forecast for the rest of the week. Still pretty well below normal, but we are going to see more sunshine. And then we do have another chance of rain by the time we get to early next week, Sunday and Monday. Doesn't look like we'll see as much as we did today, but we still have a small chance of it nonetheless. Then we're going to see those warmer temperatures, the 70s return for the middle and end of next week, and possibly even some lower 80s for next Friday. It doesn't feel like we felt we had 80s last week. It's just a complete turnaround with the temperatures, but those 80s will return for sure.
Jacob, thanks. We're back in a half hour for News 3 Now at 6. Stay tuned next for the CBS Evening News.